What is the worst thing you have ever done to get revenge on someone? When I was younger, there was a kid in my neighborhood about 5 years older than me that always used to pick on me and my buds. There wasn't much we could do considering he was about 200 pounds bigger than us, no joke. One day they were all over playing baseball when he asked for some water. I don't know what made me do it considering I've never done anything like it before, but without hesitation I grabbed the biggest cup we had in the cupboard, went into the bathroom and scooped up water from the toilet. I still remember him slamming it down while holding the cup with 2 hands like little kids do. I thought that was pretty funny for little me to come up with. I worked for Lady Satan when I was a young single mom. She was completely abusive, but I desperately needed the money to provide for my daughter, so I had to stay. As soon as my student loan came in, I just quit coming into work without explanation, and after being a very reliable employee. That day was the day she was supposed to catch a flight to Mexico. She had to cancel her vacation so the store would stay open. I regret nothing. This guy I know, second hand, worked at a ski resort. Let's call him Andy. I'm not sure if Andy was mentally handicapped or just had a very low IQ. At any rate, Andy was not a smart man. A lot of his co-workers taunted him. One guy in particular was relentless. Let's call this guy Richard. One day Richard made fun of Andy, as usual, but this time he also made fun of Andy's dead father. This was the last straw for Andy. Andy was particularly protective of his family. Andy took his lunch break that day, but instead of eating, he goes out and finds Richard's car in the parking lot. He tests the door, and sure enough, it's unlocked. Here's where Andy gets evil. Instead of just taking a crap in Richard's front seat or stuffing a dead squirrel under his passenger's seat, Andy pops the trunk open. Then he starts shoveling snow in. I'm talking packing the trunk full of snow, so he could hardly shut the lid. Then he opens the back door, starts packing the snow there. Fills it right to the ceiling/roof. Then the front door. Then Andy says screw this job, clocks out and goes home. We were camping at my grandpa's farm and he has donkeys that roam around the area, so naturally there were dried up old donkey turds lying around. My stepbrother was being an idiot and throwing some dried turds at me and my cousin. We warned him to stop, but he just kept clucking them at us. So I pinned him down while my cousin took a clump of donkey poop and shoved it in his mouth. Took a crap in the plastic bag, and left it sit on the back porch for the week. Went back a week later and poop was dried up, and I crushed it in the bag. If you have never done this before, it makes a powder. Bought a pack of cigs he smoked and emptied one out. Then filled it with the poop powder and packed it down with a pencil and replaced it in the pack. Then I waited. He tried to light it, inhaled it, and threw up, while driving. I always come into these things super late, so I never comment, but I've got a revenge story I believe is worth telling. Back in college I had a friend, let's call him Bob. Bob's girlfriend was raped by a mutual, former friend. Later the rapist was convicted of the assault and sentenced. He's still in jail, just served, right? Well, that wasn't enough for Bob and this all went down before the rapist was arrested, so. Anyway, when we heard what happened to Bob, a few other buddies and I started planning a petty revenge scheme. I didn't want to do anything criminal, and in hindsight I feel pretty bad about my small contribution. It was my friends who carried out the most heinous acts. The weekend after the assault, the rapist threw a big party at his house. He had his own place, mommy and daddy were big shot lawyers and paid for everything and everything. I mean everybody was at this freaking party. So we all went to the party, each with our own mission. My part was simple. I collected all of my cat's turds in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag for a week. It was an impressive and foul sum. I'll tell you that much. What can I say, my cat was sick, old and fat. At the very end of the party, after the rapist was asleep and all the guests either passed out or left, I emptied all of the contents of the Ziploc into his microwave and set it to cook for 99 minutes. Bob super glued the locks, handles, wiper blades and gas tank thing shut on the rapist's brand new Mercedes, slashed his tires and, for good measures, shoved a potato up the exhaust pipe. Another of my co-conspirators pooped in the tank of his toilet, you know, the back part, and cut the power cord of his fridge in half. Another dumped a huge container of glitter from the craft store in his clothes dryer and poured Dave's ghost pepper sauce on all the food in his fridge. Finally, one of my buddies pissed on a plate, froze it and sliding the frozen disc under the sleeping rapist's bedroom door, then dumped 6 or 7 gallons of milk all over his living room carpet. As far as I know, the dude is rotting in prison and still doesn't know who did any of that. But I'm guessing he knows why. When I was a cashier at a grocery store, this lady was so rude to me, I stealthily smashed the hell out of her package of grapes as I was bagging them. A guy who lived across the street from us shot our dogs and pretty much all of the kids up our street dogs. To make matters worse, to be a dick, they put up a pet cemetery at the edge of their property to antagonize us. They were a-holes. Every time an animal was shot, out parents would call the police and nothing. So collectively, the kids got together to play one day and somehow his pet cemetery got knocked down, his cars and barn and house caught fire too. Of course, the cops were called but nobody knew who did it, because we were all playing and none of us was over there. We lived in the middle of nowhere. It took a while for fire department to get there, but I think he only completely lost one car and his house. And a significant amount of damage to his barn and some other cars. He quit shooting our animals after that. Our vegetarian roommate threw out our chicken. Not because of her principles, not really, but because she was pissed at us. We were dirt poor at this point and could not have afforded more chicken. My boyfriend pissed in her pasta while it was boiling on her stove, then watched her eat it. I would never have condoned it. When he told me later, I felt pretty smug about it, can't lie. I once changed my roommate's background on his computer to a kitten. That'll teach him. My old boss was the worst human being I had ever had the displeasure to meet. A bunch of us collectively took a revenge on him in different ways when we left. For reference, I worked at a small IT firm. We reported the business for massive amounts of software piracy. The accountant reported the company for tax evasion. Created a page for the company on jobvent.com and soon had 20+ posts of venom directed at the boss. Sent anonymous letters to all his clients, informing them of his crooked business practices, overbilling and horrible management skills. Someone used an old admin password to log into the old Unix web server, hosting all client websites and email, and ran a low-level format on it over a long weekend. The boss had let the backups on that box slide. They were unable to recover anything. No idea who did that one, no one took credit for it. Edit, just to give a level of scope on the last one, there must have been 100 different websites hosted on that box, and every client, over 100, had their email running through it. The greedy idiot charged them a $100 a month for hosting email, even though half of them had the exchange on premises and could have had their email go directly to their services instead of redirecting through his. When that web server got torpedoed, it took them an entire week just to get the email routing situation sorted out. The web stuff they never got back. For us ex-techs who heard the news, it was like Christmas came early. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.